Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via YouTube streaming, via Facebook streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcome to this live broadcasting on Basant Panchami, the season of spring. Today is the day which is celebrated for goddess of wisdom, Saraswati, goddess of wisdom, music, and all that creativity is there. It was on this day that in the year 1873 was born Lalaji Ramchandra Ji Allah Ta'ala. Lalaji, the birth of Lalaji and the mystery of fish. I had mentioned to you that from nowhere a mystic wrapped in blanket appeared at the doorstep of Durga Devi, the mother of Lalaji, and asked for some food. Durga Devi was vegetarian, Vaishnav. She had prepared the vegetable and the puffed bread that is known as in India, according to India, puris. It is round in shape, puffed. At this, he asked for fish. She was vegetarian and there was nothing, the name of the fish was not heard in her kitchen. She did not lose the courage. The maid, who was very obedient and devoted, came to know that in the kitchen of her husband Chaudhry Harbaksh Rai, which was separate because of his involvement with wine, meat, and all kind of other things. And then on inquiring, she came to know from her brother-in-law that today the local chief, the Nawab, had sent two fish, and that has been cooked, spicy, very delicate. She wasted no time and took those fishes offered in a plate and offered it to the saint, to the mystic wrapped in the blanket. At this, the maid was watching everything, and when the mystic had finished, the maid requested the mystic that my mistress has everything, but she does not have a child. If by your grace she is blessed with a child, it will be a great boon, and the joy will come to the family. The mystic remained quiet for a few minutes, raised his hands towards the sky as if in supplication, and in a loud voice counted 1, 2, and saying this, he disappeared in the thin air. Before that, he was not seen. Durga Devi says she has not seen and heard about him. And after that, she has not seen him either. Nobody knew about him. What is the mystery of the birth of Lalaji and the fish? Is there a mystery surrounding the birth of Lalaji and Chachaji, his younger brother? Was there a plan before the advent of Lalaji? By sending Hazrat Baqi-Ullah Raziyallahu Ta'ala in 1624 by his master Hazrat Khwaja Amkan Ki Raziyallahu Ta'ala from Kabul. First, he came on a trade mission. He stayed in Kabul for 1 year, and then he came and settled in Old Delhi near Karol Bagh in Paharganj area. Before sending Baqiullah, Hazrat Amkanki said that I am sending you to a distant land, a land that is ready to explore any extent of spirituality. The visit of by the sending of Baqiullah by Amkanki Raziallah Ta'ala Unu, a visit of blanket wrapped mystic never seen before or after the incident. The mystic is speaking to her of Kabir, asking for the fish from a house where such dishes were inhabited and never conceived of, and was there a symbol of fish, and finally serving of fish and the boom of the mystic. Still there are more pieces to this jigsaw puzzle. I had called this volume The Leaves from the Sufi Heart, Volume 3, as the Renaissance in Naqshbandi Tariqat. It was a period when Mughal Empire was declining. Sunni Islamic influence, the induction of the Ba'ath of the seekers from other religious faith, more liberal attitude of Sheikh Hazrat Mazhar Mir Jane Jana. He started having a much liberal attitude, and the forecast of Hazrat Abul Hasan Nasirabadi 100 years ago, he made the forecast that two people will come from a Hindu religion. They will be the true inheritor of this spiritual wealth. He spoke of this to his disciple, his chief Khalifa, Hazrat Ahmad Ali Khan Raziallah Ta'ala. Ahmad Ali Khan waited throughout his life, but no one came during his lifetime. Then at a time when he was leaving the body, he spoke to his Khalifa, Maulana Fazl Ahmad Khan, maybe my master Sheikh Abul Hasan Nasirabadi. Nasirabad is the place near Bahraich where he lived. So the name of the place is associated with his name. Maybe my master has seen you in me, and this forecast is for you. So remain aware and awake that these people will come to you. I have heard this story from my grandmother, Sufi Shakuntala Devi, who envisioned the entire episode through her Kashf intuition. Durga Devi did not live long to narrate this herself. Shakuntala Devi used to say that while narrating this story, Venerable Durga Devi used to get very introspective and quite emotional. While narrating the incident, she used to plunge into the ocean of bliss within and trust in the unknown and unknowable. Her face used to have an indescribable glow. While narrating the incident, she used to narrate again and again as if this was her zikr, recitation of the mantra, or worship. She mentioned that the mystic had neither been seen before nor after that incident. However, he spoke in a soft, captivating voice and spoke to her of the message of Kabir. It may sound like a fairy tale to the mind. Remember, Existence speaks through silent gestures and pronounces aesthetic beauty. Furthermore, when you have mastered the art of listening, it takes one to even deeper realms within oneself, and then it helps to connect with own inner wisdom. Learning to listen to inner silence is probably the essence of inward journey, or the essence of a spiritual journey. Learning to listen to inner silence. We do not even listen to the words. We listen to that which appeals to us. But listening to the silence is one of the greatest benediction. Learning to listen to inner silence is probably the essence of inward journey. Then you can see the facets of entire event and a precise divine scheme behind each happening. Everything was well planned. There is a power within that knows beyond our knowings. We are not aliens nor as strangers join. We are bound to each other by a causeless force. Everything is not a jigsaw puzzle. It is pre-planned, but the mind cannot conceive of something deeper, so it calls it as a puzzle. Well planned, well written and conceived story by the unknown and unknowable. Instead, it is so. And as director, I am presenting the entire episode as a three-dimensional screenplay for the process of transformation of human consciousness to continue. In existence, things happen in a chronological order with great precision. Just as when a movie is made, the story writer writes the fine details of the minor incidents to make it a three-dimensional and make a reality. So such is the case in the existence, the chronological happening of the events. All this is very precise. In existence, things happen in a chronological order with great precision. Spring, autumn, winter and summer all happen in an order. And no event can be ignored simply because perhaps it does not fit your expectation of liking. Just as, or as a parent, you do not listen to the wailings of your ignorant child, so too God does not listen to your wailings as the outcome of ignorance and negation on the basis of religion and many other reasons. We want things to happen our way, but it does not happen in the existence. When autumn comes in the scheme of existence, it brings a new portrayal to spring. Out of the trust, you say that I know not what the wish of my beloved is in this happening. During spring, all leaves turn yellow and fall. The tree becomes bare. Seeing the tree in this state, an ignorant one may lament. However, wisdom does not lament. It knows the autumn helps the tree to nourish and nurture, and therefore, when spring comes, it brings a new portrayal, new foliage. The tree becomes healthy. The tree is fully alive and invigorated. Such is the understanding of an enchanted heart full of love and trust. With this event, it appeared as if the silent prayers and the trust of Durga Devi brought fruits for her quiet and noiseless mansion, a boom for her womanhood and the married life. Furthermore, the existence was to fulfill the commitment and the promise in the process of the evolution of Naqshbandi Tariqat. The forecast made by Hazrat Abul Hasan Nasirabadi and sending of Hazrat Baqiullah by Amkan Ki Raziyallah Ta'ala. This sacred legend I have been hearing since my childhood. As a child, I was told by the elders, yet wiser, that the seekers associated with this tariqat should not consume fish, because with this sacrifice of fish, two mystics, Lalaji and Chachaji, were born, and so on and so forth. I listened to such naive explanations and decided to unravel this mystery for the sake of the millions who are intrigued by this. A curiosity arose to discover the mystery of it all. Who was this blanket-wrapped mystic? Where did he come from? Where did he appear? And when he appeared and when he disappeared too, what is the significance of two fish, and so on? Such unanswered questions continued to intrigue until I attained. Then one day, the existence unfolded the mystery. However, to explain and unravel this mystery, I had to wait still. I knew waiting is an important inner dimension of trust. Waiting is an important inner dimension of trust. Remember this, waiting is an important inner dimension of trust. If you cannot wait, trust is meaningless. There was no hurry. I had known when existence would want to unravel, it will indicate. For quite some time, a few of my beloved friends and seekers have been pestering me to speak, explaining this mystery. Existence is not a jigsaw puzzle, although it appears to be. Indeed, the secrets of such mystery are revealed only to an awakened one. Remember, on the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we seem to meet, we meet people every day, but nothing happens without a reason. On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we seem to meet, also we look at each event as unresolved jigsaw puzzle. It is not so. Existence is one and harmonious both within and without, and nothing happens unwanted. Our lives are not aliens, nor as a stranger's join, nor a strange event happening. However, as human being, we move towards each other by a causeless force. Most of the time, that remains unknown and intriguing to human mind. So too, various events take place as a mysterious happening. Such was the incident of the appearance of the blanket-wrapped mystic. Just as soul can recognize its answering soul, so too each thread of this mystery recognizes each piece. One even attracts the other until the entire picture is clear. It is like a ray of number of pearls put together form the rosary. So small events woven together in an invisible string of mystery unravels the entire event. In the absence of awakening, however, across dividing time and on life's roads, absorbed, rapt traveler, turning it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face, an event, and it still remains in truth. In the absence of awakening, however, across dividing time and on life's roads, absorbed, rapt, traveler, turning it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face and events, and it still remains in truth. Verily touched by the warning fingers of swift love, it thrills again to an immortal joy, wearing a mortal body for delight. Verily touched by the warning fingers of swift love and understanding, it thrills again to an immortal joy, wearing a mortal body for delight. Indeed, there is a power within that knows beyond our knowings and finite cognition. There is power within that knows beyond our knowings and the finite cognition. Certainly we are greater than our thoughts, and sometimes earth unveils that vision here to unfold a new vision. Certainly we are greater than our thoughts, and sometimes earth unveils that vision here to unfold a new vision, to live, to love, are signs of infinite things. To love, to live, are signs of infinite things, but this requires awakening. This requires a different kind of intelligence. Indeed, love is glory from eternity's sphere that glows with trust to manifest infinite glories. And when such events present them, it comes like a déjà vu, comes like a wow, comes like a mystery to us. The moment awakening dawns, you are aware that something beyond explanation has happened. The moment awakening dawns, you are aware that something beyond explanation has happened. Existence has opened its mysteries and finite treasures into your awareness. With enlightenment, such questions do not intrude the mind anymore. Mind is only the surface expression of that which lies within as unfathomable eternal ocean. Truth reveals itself. Existence unravels its mysteries. However, these cannot be understood through the mind and its various instruments of intellect, memory, etc. Let me explain certain aspects of this mystery that stands like a jigsaw puzzle into your mind. Nothing is missing. For you, certainly something is missing, and you do not know how to put these scattered pieces together. And that which is missing is your awareness. The first piece of the jigsaw puzzle relates to the event of 1857. With East India Company, British rule was setting its feet into Indian subcontinent. Nationalist forces joined together to avert the rising British power and influence. However, in front of the British strength and force, all forces failed. The movement was crushed. However, the events shook the hearts of the ordinary citizens. Under these circumstances, Chaudhry Harbaksh Rai, along with his extended family, including his younger brother Chaudhry Ulfat Rai, moved with his extended family from ancestral family village to the cosmopolitan area of Fatehgarh and Farrukhabad. Now the second piece of the puzzle associates itself with 23rd Naqshbandi Sheikh Hazrat Khwaja Amkan Ki, who lived in Samarkand in northern Afghanistan. Hazrat Khwaja Baqibullah was once traveling. On his way, he dreamt that Khwaja Amkanki was calling him and waiting for him anxiously. He left this worldly life behind and sought spiritual knowledge from the master of the century. There are certain groups that are presenting their own concocted story about the birth of Lalaji and Chachaji. Not Chachaji, but Lalaji alone. The existence is a chemical equation where even the catalysts are important. And these groups have taken away the catalysts, they have taken away all the other less important ingredients and just want to narrate the entire story with Lalaji alone. It cannot be. Hazrat Khwaja Baqibullah was once traveling. On his way, he dreamt that Hazrat Amkanki Razillah Ta'ala was calling him and waiting for him anxiously. He left the worldly life behind and sought spiritual knowledge from the master of the century. He kept the company with the master and saints until he himself became an ocean of intellect and the saint of spirituality. He traveled continuously until he reached the city of Samarkand in northern Afghanistan. There he connected himself to the master of the time, Khwaja Amkanki. He received from him the way of Naqshbandi order. He received from him the way of Naqshbandi order. In a very short period of time, he received what most seekers require a lifetime to receive. He was elevated also through the spiritual care of Hazrat Ubaidullah Ehra, the 21st Sheikh of the golden chain of the Naqshbandi order, whose shrine is in Middle East in Ehrar, Ubaidullah Ehrar. His honor became known far and wide. His Sheikh Khwaja Amkanki blessed him with his khilafat, with his khalifahood, and authorized him to take followers and to train them in the way of the tariqat. He ordered him to go back to India in preparation for the new millennium. However, he had already been to India on a personal business. There he was attracted to an attraction from God's attraction. There he was attracted to an attraction from God's attraction. Sheikh predicted, you are going to have a follower who will be like the sun. And this prediction was for Imam Rabbani Ahmad Al-Faruqi Mujaddid Alif Sani Razillah Ta'ala who lived in Sarhind, outskirts of Chandigarh in Punjab. Khwaja Baqibullah expressed his inability to do such a difficult task. However, Amkanki insisted and ordered him to get the guidance from the unknown, and he performed a prayer. In a dream, he saw a parrot sitting on the branch of a tree. He thought if the parrot sat on his hand, he would consider this journey would be the lucky one. Most of us all have that kind of thinking. No sooner the thought flashed across his mind than the parrot flew towards him and perched on his hand. Baqibullah put his saliva into his beak, whereas the parrot put the sugar into his mouth. This was the indication as well as confirmation. Next morning, Baqibullah related the whole dream to his guide, who said that he should act on the light of the prayer. Istikhara. is a prayer that he did for him. Istikhara is a prayer that Sufis perform. So this Sheikh Amkanki ordered him to leave for India immediately. Under the instructions of his Sheikh, Baqibullah traveled to India and stayed in Lahore for 1 year. Lahore, which is now in Punjab, in Pakistan. Here a lot of scholars and nobles of the city met him and obtained spiritual blessings from him. Then he proceeded to Delhi and stayed at Kila Firozabad. It was a beautiful place situated on the bank of river Yamuna. He sat on his dwelling in a mosque over there. Baqibullah was the first Naqshbandi master to come to India. After staying in Lahore for 1 year, finally he settled in New Delhi. His shrine is in Old Delhi near Paharganj railway station. Behind the Muslim cemetery there is a mosque. His Sheikh Amkanki did not make any change in the technique or tariqat. However, he instructed Baqibullah to bring even the ordinary ones into the fold. Make this spiritual awareness available to the people who are still not on the path. That was the trust and the instruction of his master. Once Baqibullah visited a master who told him, it is good that you have brought so many into the fold. Nearly half of these are incapable to enter into the path on their own. Transform these people, bring light divine and nur into their hearts so that it begins to shine with light absolute and kindle up the dark caves. Amkanki asked him not to look at the inner capabilities of an individual. If I look at the inner capabilities of the individual, then I will not find even a single person ready for this spiritual wisdom. This way you will never find aspirant. Had Baqibullah not brought such relaxations in the tariqat, a vast cross-section of humanity would have remained deprived of this inner treasure. Amkanki said, I am sending you to a distant land whose very texture is soaked in spirituality. It is the land sanctified, nourished and nurtured by such forces from times immemorial, a land which is ready to explode any path, a land whose very being is not only ready but also has the capability to infuse life into a dead heart. I am sending you to India. India has been the university of meditation and the beacon light, not only now, but from times immemorial. It has created many, awakened many Buddhas. This was the background or the initial preparation for the mysteries to unfold themselves as leaves of mystical treasures one by one. Sheikh Ahmad al-Faruqi marks the beginning of a new millennium in Sunni Islamic era and by far in the Naqshbandi tariqat. Now the third piece of the mystical puzzle. Who is this blanket wrapped mystic who seemed to be from the Islamic tradition? When certain events have to take place, existence, the past masters or the messengers manifest themselves in human form, or sometimes they manifest. This blanket wrapped mystic was no one else but Khizr alayhi salam, the mystical guide of the Sufi. The status of him is like Narad according to Hindu mythology. This blanket wrapped mystic is no one but the spirit of Khizr alayhi salam, the wandering messenger of Allah. He also spoke the message of Kabir, since the connection has to be established between the Hindu and the Sufi tradition. Kabir encompassed the Hindu and Muslim traditions together. So speaking of Kabir was very important. Such connection has to be established between Hindu and Muslim and the Sufi tradition. Existence choose first Baqibullah to be sent to ancient land of Hindu tradition and culture, and then choose Khizr alayhi salam to appear mystically to the doorstep of a pious and devoted Hindu householder, through whose womb a new light was to manifest. Existence first choose Baqibullah to be sent to an ancient land of Hindu traditions and culture, and then choose Khizr alayhi salam to appear mystically to the doorsteps of a devout Hindu householder, through whose womb a new light was to manifest. But the ignorant one says that this is a Sufi, this is the Islamic tradition, but not understanding the wisdom of the existence, not understanding the existence, what it wants to reveal itself. Time has come for the advent of the Hindu influence into it. And why should this be strange? The Naqshbandi Tariqat indeed has such transmission before. In the golden chain, it is known that Sayyidina Abdul Khaliq Gizdwani, who enshrined the 8 original principles of Khwazagan as the Naqshbandi Tariqat was then called, was taught by Khizr alayhi salam. Khwaja Amkanki, who was the 8th sheikh in the golden chain of the Naqshbandi Tariqat, in the beginning it was not known as Naqshbandi Tariqat. With the second sheikh of the Tariqat, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, the system came to be known as Siddiqiya. Then it came to be known as Tafurian. And with the 8th saint, Abdul Khaliq Gizdwani, it came to be known as Khwazagania. Abdul Abbas, as he was known, indeed taught the silent zikr to Abdul Khaliq Gizdwani, and now we have the emergence of Khizr alayhi salam again. Such events are no more mere coincidence, instead divine plan for things to happen in a particular way. Whenever such a being has to be born, a certain kind of a womb is to be prepared. The birth of Jesus, the birth of Ram Krishna, the birth of Ubaidullah Ahrar Razillah Ta'ala, the birth of Buddha, all bear testimony to this. Durga Devi was ready to receive the womb, only the fire needed to be kindled up in her womb. For the birth of a being whose light has to manifest like a beacon for centuries to come, only a messenger of Allah in the form of Khizr alayhi salam or past sheikh or the master can be chosen and no one else. For the birth of a being whose light has to manifest like a beacon for centuries to come, only a messenger of Allah in the form of Khizr alayhi salam or a past sheikh or the master can be chosen. Existence of the past or the current masters can manifest his consciousness through any being that is available at the moment when necessary. The life of Sai Baba of Shirdi shows this during our times. Ordinary human mind consider these as miracles, However, such is normal process in existence. He appears and vanishes, never to be seen again. Such are the ways of the existence. When existence has to assume new form, great preparation is needed. It is just like you are going to visit a strange country for the first time. Certain preparations have to be made. You will look for the acquaintance if you have in that strange city. Once you find any connection in that new place, things becomes easy. You have someone to take care of you there. Sometimes like this happens, an advanced soul has to assume birth. Even parents want a loving, devoted and spiritual child to be born into their home, one on whom they can feel proud. However, in this process, the parents can only hope and pray for such a child, but it is not in their hands. The case with the soul is different. The soul that is ready to assume the form is now in unmanifest form. It can see beyond time and space. It can communicate with awakened ones on the planet Earth. Depending on its evolution, it has freedom to choose the womb, choose the parents. Lalaji's soul has chosen Chaudhry Harbaksharai, a drunkard, involved in all kind of activities. And contrary to that, there was a devout Vaishnav woman, Durga Devi. Contradictories. This always happens. It can communicate with advanced ones on the planet Earth. Depending on its evolution, it has freedom to choose the womb, parents and the environment, so that the process of evolution may continue, not only for him, instead for humanity as well. I am speaking to you on the basis of my own experience, my own birth. I could resolve this jigsaw puzzle. I can speak on my own experience. Because of the state of evolution, I had this freedom to speak to you. I wanted the process of evolution to continue where it was left in the last manifestation. It was my good fortune. A Naqshbandi Sheikh in the form of Brij Mohan Lal, connected with the Naqshbandi Tariqat, was in the physical form on this planet. The communion between him and Shakuntala Devi was that of a harmony and oneness. The family had the lineage of the Naqshbandi Tariqat. It was no better womb than Shakuntala Devi and Brij Mohan Lal as the father, place and the family environment to assume birth. It was a perfect place to take birth. This was the place, this was the event about my birth. But there was a problem. Sufi Brij Mohan Lal did not want to have any more children. So too was the case with Shakuntala Devi, but he had no choice to fulfill the divine plan. He chose a different womb as a soil and a different seed for this purpose. Mystically, he adopted my physical mother, Gayatri Devi, as his daughter. He was brought up as his eyeball. She was so dear to him that he could never refuse her anything. As a result, whenever her brother Sufi Omkarnath or any other devotee had to get anything done by the Sheikh, they will request her. Everyone knew that the Sheikh will not refuse her if she requested. Such was her relation with the Sheikh. He created a communion between my physical father, Lakshmi Sahai, and the mother, Gayatri Devi. Gayatri Devi is still alive in the physical form, but the father, physical father, Lakshmi Sahai, entered into the existence on 11th of December 2018. This was the only option available for my birth. I did not like this arrangement initially, as I wanted Sheikh as my father. Then he explained the reason, not yet to be explained, and assured you will remain under my benign care. Furthermore, I was able to see that he has already decided to leave the physical body. When I mentioned of this to him, he assured me, I know this, and therefore I will leave this world. I will leave this world. I will fulfill my responsibility and not leave you stranded. I will be leaving your grandmother, Shakuntala Devi, behind to stay on the planet unless all assignments are completed. Further, he explained that with this worth, your physical parents can get salvation, and there is every possibility they can miss out of their ignorance and worldly attachment. You have to make sure that this does not happen to them and they attain to salvation. I am quite happy that this had happened with my father Lakshmi Sahai. When he passed, it was a totally different event. One day before, he spoke to my youngest brother that you seem to have too many expenses, let me write some post-dated checks. So he told him not to do so, but he wrote a few post-dated checks to him and handed over to him. He requested to eat aloo paratha. A typical Indian dish is the flat bread is stuffed with aloo, the potato. He ate that. He talked joyfully to everyone. Then there was a little problem and they insisted on taking him to the hospital. But he said, no, there is no need to carry him to the hospital, but they carried him. Before he reached to the hospital, he entered into Samadhi. When his body was brought home, I saw all these events happening, and it was taken out of the car, and everyone says that all the events that took place, even the cremation and everything, was so mysterious. 7 o'clock in the morning, he entered into Samadhi. By 8:30, the body was brought home, and then the arrangements were made for the funeral, and by 4 o'clock the funeral was completed. This is strange. It was not an ordinary death. It was entering into Samadhi. As this assurance, I agreed to the plan. I knew at the time of my conception it was the consciousness of Sufi Brij Mohan Lal and Shakuntala Devi, but the body of my physical parents, Lakshmi Sahai and Gayatri Devi. This may sound as a nice story. Remember, human mind is incapable to understand the subtle phenomena. When we talk about the birth of Jesus as Virgin Mary, we cannot understand. The physical act of male-female relation must complete. But what is the difference? Why it is called an immaculate conception? Because at the time when you engage into the physical relation of male-female, your energy is into that. It is for you is a physical act. But in case of Joseph and Mary, Joseph was not in his consciousness. His physical body was there, but his consciousness was in the spirit with God. When I was conceived, the act was taking place at the physical plane, but the consciousness was that of Sufi Brij Mohan Lal. After I was born, I called my grandmother as mother and my mother as sister. Sufi Brij Mohan Lal instructed that I spend most of my time with my grandmother. I had promised that when I am speaking on the birth of Lalaji, I will speak about my birthday, the physical manifestation as well. So as a result, I still remember leaving her. My grandmother was painful for me. I never liked to stay with my physical parents. After returning from the shrine complex, everything used to appear lifeless and insipid. And as promised, Sufi Brij Mohan Lal transferred all that was necessary for me when I was only 8 months old. This was confirmed by my grandmother. When I was 10 or 11 years of age, one day I asked my grandmother, "What is my religion?" Born in a Hindu family, brought up in a Sufi environment, she could very easily say that you are born in a Hindu family. Of course, Hinduism is a great religion. That is what everyone tells their children. Once I complained to her that no one tells me anything to do the puja, zikr or anything. At this later in the night, that night she told me, "You were unnecessarily complaining. Your grandfather Sufi Brij Mohan Lal has already given you everything, and when the time is ready, you will remember everything." This is why the birth of Lalaji appears to be a jigsaw puzzle with all these pieces. But for me, everything is mystery is revealed. In the past, explanation was not necessary. However, now it is necessary. Durga Devi was awakened so she could provide the womb. However, the consciousness of Chaudhary Harbaksh Rai was not capable to attract the being of Lalaji. Because of his lifestyle, his involvement with the rich and the prostitute of the city, eating and drinking, and in all that his womb was not, his consciousness was not ready. But it was a pious Hindu woman who could not accept any other being as the father of the child. So existence has no choice but to respect her wishes, and Chaudhary Harbaksh Rai became the physical father of, just as Joseph became the physical father of Jesus. Mary was ready to provide her womb for the birth of Jesus. Durga Devi was ready to lend her womb for the birth of Lalaji, but not the consciousness of Chaudhary Harbaksh Rai. Existence has to choose Khizr alayhi salam's consciousness, or the absolute consciousness, as a much higher consciousness was needed for this purpose. This could only be provided by either Khizr alayhi salam or the past awakened master from the Alam-e-Ghaib. Therefore, the visit of the blanket-wrapped mystic was necessary to prepare the womb after the consciousness of the father and create the environment for the birth of Lalaji. Only being like Khizr alayhi salam or any past master's consciousness and the womb of the awakened Durga Devi could attract the being of Lalaji and Chachaji in her womb. This is not a jigsaw puzzle. It is the plan of the existence. Only a being like Khizr alayhi salam, the mysterious friend of the Sufi, or any past master's consciousness and the womb of the awakened Durga Devi could attract the being of Lalaji and Chachaji into her womb. The situation was different when Chachaji did not have any children. For that occasion, there was Sheikh Fazl Ahmad Khan, Sheikh Lalaji and Chachaji. It was with the grace of Maulana Fazl Ahmad Khan that Sufi Brij Mohan Lal was born. This is also a mystery, but not a mystery. Not that much. Chachaji and his wife, Jai Devi, did not have the children. So their in-laws were planning to take them to Rameshwaram, so that it was belief of Hindus that if anyone who did not have the child and they are carried to Rameshwaram, the place where Ram did perform the Shiv Puja before entering the Lanka, the place where Sita was abducted. So same time Maulana Fazl Ahmad Khan appeared, and he asked, seeing all this preparation, he asked Lalaji, what is this all going on? With wet eyes, Lalaji said, Nanne, and his wife. Lalaji used to call Chachaji as Nanne. Nanne means small, or minute, or tiny. Do not have any children, and their parents, their in-laws want to take them to Rameshwaram for prayers. Mauli Sahab, Maulana Fazl Ahmad Khan, got into a spiritual elevation, and he said, the God that is there is here also. His powers are not limited by time, place and space. And asked for water in a cup. Water was brought, and he cast a glance onto it, energized the water. And he asked this water to be given to his wife Jai Devi. And the water was given, and thus Brij Mohan Lal was conceived. Why I am taking all these incidents so that you can understand this is how the existence works. Maya Devi, the mother of Buddha, left her body not too long after the birth of Gautam, leaving the infant child in care of her sister Prajapati, who was also married to Gautam's father. Durga Devi nourished and nurtured the young Lalaji and Chachaji for the first 7 years of the growth of consciousness. Thus she infused the Hindu aspect into the consciousness of the young ones, which was later nourished and nurtured by Maulana Fazl Ahmad Khan. On the 17th, I will speak of this in subsequent sessions. At the door of Durga Devi, the mysterious mystic asked for food, and when he was offered vegetarian dishes, he purposely asked for the fish. There are 2 reasons for this. Fish that was offered to him came from a Muslim governor of Shamshabad, a Muslim by faith, to a Hindu home. Came from a Muslim to a Hindu home, and then through a devout Hindu lady was served to Muslims mystic. See this scheme. First it was brought from a Muslim governor of Shamshabad to the home of to the kitchen of Chaudhry Harbaksh Rai, a Hindu home, and through the devout Hindu woman, it was transferred from that kitchen to the mystic, from a devout Hindu to a Muslim saint, Khizr alayhi salam. Inwardly she was in prayer. She was in remembrance of her idol Hindu incarnation Lord Ram. All along Durga Devi was seeing the cherished Lord Ram in the place of the ascetic. So the Hindu influence has to be infused by Khizr alayhi salam. And her eyelids were glittering with tears of joy because she was serving to her Lord Ram. Thus the child was to be born with both Hindu and Muslim traits. was to be born both with Hindu and Muslim traits, and deep understanding as the bridge between these two paths and culturally and religiously diverse ways has to be established. And Abul Hasan Nasir Abadi made the forecast. The fish was transmitted from a Muslim origin through a Hindu hand to a holy mystic. Why the blanket wrapped mystic of unknown and unknowable realm asks for fish? Have you ever thought what is the relevance of fish and its connection with the advent of Lalaji and Chachaji? People concoct a story and use Lalaji as a brand name for their own to perpetuate their own ignorance. Why this blanket wrapped mystic of unknown and unknowable realm asks for fish? Have you ever thought what is the relevance of fish and its connection with the advent of Lalaji and Chachaji? We must consider here the symbolism of fish. First, we know in Holy Quran, in Surah 18, the cave, there is a story of Prophet Muhammad, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, who met first Khizr alayhi salam. Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his servant helper also carried a fish which also appeared into the river in a place where two rivers meet. There he found Khizr alayhi salam and knowledge beyond reason. This fish was captured from the place where two rivers meet. The fish is also a well-known symbol for Jesus Christ the Savior. Jesus Christ was also offered broiled fish upon resurrection, was able to make some of the apostles fisher of men. Also, according to Hindu, Matsya Avatar or the manifestation of Vishnu was also fish. Vishnu is the divine principle of perseverance, and this first manifestation appears as the principle of Savior in the starting point of this primordial tradition. This was a new beginning, a new tariqat. That is why I call this tariqat as Naqshbandiya. With the advent of 17th Sheikh Hazrat Shah Bahauddin Naqshband, then the second tradition happened in India with the advent of Mujaddid Alif Sani. This was the beginning of the second millennium after Holy Prophet. Because Holy Prophet said there will be a 17th Ahmad. And that will be the beginning of the second millennium in the tariqat of the Naqshbandi order. Then Hazrat Mazhar Mir Jane Jana, with him the decline of the Mughal Empire started, and slowly the British influence was infusing into the Indian subcontinent. And there was also that he was killed by a Sunni. That I will not, just to avoid any kind of misconception at the moment. He sacrificed his life. So Naqshbandiya, Mujaddadiya, Majhariya. Hazrat Mazhar Mir Jane Jana, with him the name was added on. With Lalaji, a new era ushers into Naqshbandi tariqat. It is Ramchandriya. Naqshbandiya, Mujaddadiya, Majhariya wa Ramchandriya tariqat. Fish represents the process of evolution, and the first form of life comes into existence as fish. The tariqat is now entering into new form of existence. The first incarnation, according to Hindu, is in the form of fish. Christians use fish as their symbol. Christians, Muslims, and other religious factions will inadvertently reject this concept as Hindu. This is ignorance. To come out of such ignorance is the beginning of inward journey. Every life, irrespective of its religious upbringing, begins as fish and swims in the mother's womb and implants into the placenta, into the uterus. So the fluid into the womb symbolizes the ocean, and fish as the new life. In human development, a fetus is a prenatal human form between its embryonic state and its birth. Fish represents this process symbolically. The fetal stage of the development tends to be taken as beginning at the gestational age of 11 weeks. That is 9 weeks after fertilization. In biological terms, however, the prenatal development is a continuum with no clear defining feature, distinguish an embryo from fetus. The word fetus generally implies that an embryo has developed to the point of being recognizable as a human. The word fetus generally implies that an embryo has developed to the point of being recognized as a human. This is the point usually taken to be the 9th week after fertilization. 9th week after fertilization. A fetus is also characterized by the presence of all the major body organs, though they will not yet be fully developed and functional, and some not yet situated at their final anatomical location. The moment a single sperm fertilizes an egg, from tiny egg to growing embryo, an incredible process of connection begins. Ovulation happens each month when one of the woman's 2 ovaries releases a mature egg. It happens about 2 weeks after the first day of the last menstrual period. After the egg is released from the ovary, it travels into the fallopian tube. It stays there until a single sperm fertilizes it. A man may ejaculate 40 million to 150 million sperms, which start swimming upstream towards the fallopian tube on their mission to fertilize an egg. Fast swimming sperms can reach the egg in half an hour time, while others may take days. The sperm can live up to 48 to 72 hours. Only a few hundred will even come closer to the egg because of the many natural barriers that exist in a woman's body. It takes about 24 hours for a sperm cell to fertilize an egg. 24 hours for a sperm cell to fertilize an egg. When the sperm enters the egg, surface of the egg changes so that no other sperm can enter. Only one sperm can enter. The surface of the egg changes so that no sperm can enter. At the moment of fertilization, the baby's genetic makeup is completed, the DNA, including whether it will be a male child or a female child. The fertilized egg starts growing fast, dividing into many cells. The fertilized egg starts growing fast, dividing into many cells. It leaves the fallopian tube and enters the uterus 3 to 4 days after fertilization. 3 to 4 days after fertilization. In rare case, the fertilized egg does not leave the fallopian tube. It is called tubal pregnancy or ectopic pregnancy, and there is danger to the mother. After it gets to the uterus, the fertilized egg attaches to the lining of the uterus or endometrium. This process is called implantation. The cell keeps dividing. Within about a week of conception, a hormone called human chorionic, I cannot pronounce this particular name, or HCG. The hormone known as HCG can be found in mother's blood, and it is produced by cell that will become the placenta. The hormone will show up on a blood or a urine pregnancy test as the doctor's office, but it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks for level of HCG to be high enough to be detected by home pregnancy tests. After the egg attaches to the uterus, some cells become the placenta while others becomes embryo. The heart begins beating during the week 5. Heart begins to beat during week 5. The brain, the spinal cord, heart and other organs begin to form. At the 8th week, the developing baby now is called fetus, a well-developed, half an inch long and is still growing. A full-term delivery generally happens around 40 weeks. This is the process of evolution, and the fish represents this process. This is why there is a mystery that fish, although it is considered to be very healthy, the healthiest meat to be consumed by anyone, good morning. We're continuing. Look like the Skype is not connected, so you can switch over to Facebook or to YouTube. After the egg attaches to uterus, some cells become placenta while others become embryo. Heart begins beating during the week 5. The brain, the spinal cord, heart and other organs begin to form. At the 9th week, the developing baby, now called a fetus, is well over half an inch long and is still growing. A full-term delivery generally happens around 40 weeks. This is the process of evolution, and fish represents this process. As I was growing and I came to know about this, and also I recollect the words of my grandmother. said that the fish was sacrificed for the birth of Lalaji and Chachaji. So as the devotee of this order, you should abstain from fish. Although it is very nutritious and healthy, as compared to other meats, it is considered as a white meat. I am a vegetarian. I do not use anything except egg. In the present context of the advent of Lalaji, fish as the symbol represents the process of evolution. Now the Naqshbandi Tariqat has to undergo such process of evolution. Hindu and Muslim aspects have to merge into one another to form embryo for future process of transformation to continue. On the significance of the symbol of fish, Rumi says, I have a thirsty fish in me that can never find enough of what it is thirsty for. I have a thirsty fish in me that can never find enough of what it is thirsty for. Thirsty is of something that can be quenched in no time by giving some water if it is an ordinary thirst. But Rumi is certainly not talking about the thirsty for water. Instead, he is talking about the thirst of the self-awareness. Every self has got its own thirst, and every self is not really aware exactly or fully what this thirst is for. As the process of evolution continues, the self evolves more and more. It comes to know or comes close to what is the real thirst is for. Whatever the individual may perform or achieve something great, and the people or the world around him would have well appreciated or celebrated, there is no problem. Still, that individual may not necessarily be contented with it. The inner self has a different kind of thirst to be quenched. It is like the fish in the ocean is still thirsty. It has water all over and below it. Fish is surrounded by water all around, yet still it remains thirsty. To quench this thirst, your inner fish continues swimming even against the flow to fulfill inner longing. I will stop here, but continue the mystery in continuing sessions, as there is more to reveal along this process. Until then, take care and do have a